Everyone, to day 5. We're already finishing the first week. Sad times, but we've got glad times today right now as you're all coming in. Today, as I've mentioned to you on the Telegram group, today I'm going to be introducing you to my mentor, my boss as well, my former boss, Phil Gosset. He'll be leading us through an introduction to Innovation 101, all this amazing stuff, a lot of the amazing stuff that I've mentioned to you, I've learned from none other than Phil himself. So he's in the building. Can we please give a warm welcome, 1Percent.School style, to Phil Gosset, everyone. Brilliant. Give us your fire emojis, your clap emojis, however it is.
Brilliant.
And we will be recording this session as well for those who are coming in late. Those are coming in as we speak as well. We've got a lot of you mentioning you're going for kind of Friday luncheons, or whatever it is, which is completely fine. So a quick intro before I hand over to Phil. Phil, as I mentioned, I do refer to him in my private circles as my innovation guru. He's been, various roles, led, of course, the nation currently at working in a very interesting company, FX. What's it called again, Phil? FX Insights, yes, indeed. And he works with me as my boss at Nationwide Building Society, where we led an incubator like no other, as I say. He also has worked at Microsoft, various roles throughout a 25-year period. While I let you guys in, I'm going to be switching over to Phil. So thank you so very much, Phil, for your time, and over to you. Thank you so
Brilliant.
much.
Thank you, Mo. Yes, it was always fun working with Mo. So let me just put this up, share this with you. Can you see that? Yes, you can see that. That's good. Right, so this is Innovation 101. What I want to do today is to take you through my reason and rationale for grounded innovation, why I believe in it, and why it's different. You're not going to just sit there, I'm afraid. You're going to actually be asked some questions, and we're going to start this off right away. So first question, and this is to get your fingers fit and ready. I want you to type into the chat straight away, what's your favorite film? Really quickly, come on, bit of energy.
Fastest finger first, guys.
Come
Remember,
on, favorite film.
learn fast, okay? Learn fast. FAST, as we always say, right? Forget what you know, active state, and teach. Okay, let's put it into the chat. Wow, everyone. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Nice.
Okay.
Good choice.
What else do we have? What else do we have? I'll give you my one.
Go on then.
Terminator
Wow.
2.
Not heard that.
Miracle in Cell 7. That was a brilliant one. It's a Turkish movie, isn't it, Ishal? Really emotional movie. Miracle in Cell 7.
I have to look out for that one.
Yeah, really emotional movie. Terminator 2. That's me. Don't watch films. Brilliant documentaries, even if it's a documentary, whatever it is. This heart doesn't either.
Oh, Kite Runner, very good.
Kite Runner. Oh, beautiful.
Cool. Right, I'm going to just move you on to the next question. What is the worst film you've ever seen? This is going to be a bit harder, but potentially a bit funnier. I should probably put mine in as well, actually. There you go. That's mine. The worst film I've ever seen. Frozen. Nightmare. Looking, I've got 2 young daughters. Ugh. Anyway, Frozen 2, yeah, that one wins.
Mine's called Jira Blade, which is a Punjabi movie, which was just like a really bad, just really bad, trying to do a bit of a mafia thing. But yeah, Sharknado. Wow. Willow, big up to you, Willow. Amazing. Barbie.
I've heard lots of people say that. That's cool.
Oppenheimer crew then, right?
All right. So one more question. This is a bit more tricky. What is innovation? So take a minute, just think about it. What do you think innovation is?
feel free to think of what Bill
There,
and Simon mentioned. Sorry.
there is a reason for asking this question. There is no right answer. Making a change is a really good answer. Oh, wow, fantastic. Brilliant. You've been on a good course, I tell you, this is wicked. There's a kind of, there's a standard answer which I use, which is creating something that will become part of somebody's or an organization's life. And I think you've covered that. But the other answer is it can be whatever you want it to be, right? Innovation is different for everyone. And I think you have to recognize that each of your understanding of innovation and what it is different, and that's absolutely fine. But I want to talk about grounded innovation. And I'm just going to take you through my kind of thinking about it and how I go about it, okay? And this is, I understand that there's an option to pitch ideas at the end of this, and I'm going to give you a little thing to work through near the end. Some really good answers still coming in. So what is grounded innovation? So for me, the starting point of grounded innovation is pick a domain that you have access to experts in and that you really care about. So what do I mean by domain? I mean an area. So when I talk about a domain, think of a domain as an area which there is expertise in. So a domain could be banking. It could be advice for people that are struggling with money. It could be health or sport. These are all domains, right? And there are experts in that area. But now, which of those you really care about? It's got to be something that's quite close to you. So, and the reason why it's important it's quite close to you is because it's hard to do this. So you have to be motivated to do it. It's not just about the pot of gold at the end. This is about something you care about. Once you've picked a domain, identify its real challenges and challenges that you want to solve. So what do I mean by that? So 25 years of innovation, the first 20 years was sitting down thinking, okay, here's a fun thing. Why don't we build this? And so I used to work for Vodafone, and they came up with this great thing, which was you just got off a plane in a strange country, in a strange city, and you need a hotel and a restaurant. And that was their whole rationale for doing mobile internet at the time. And that was the thing they used to push it. And then somebody said, how many times do people get off a plane in a strange city and not know where hotel that they're going to or restaurant they're going to? It just never happens. So try and identify real challenges that real people want to solve, and also that you want to solve, that you care about, that you're interested in. The next thing, explore and learn as much as you can about each of these challenges. Why do I say that? So if I understand the challenge completely, in a sense, it'll have a shape, right? I know what the shape of the challenge is. I know what the boundaries are. I know what the big bits, which are the small bits. Once you know the shape of a problem that you're trying to solve, you've automatically kind of got the solution. The solution is the shape of the problem, right? That sounds a bit weird now I say it out loud, but if you really investigate what the problem is you're trying to solve, then the solution will just emerge from that. And you just have to trust that is what happens. One way of doing this is to keep proposing solutions, come up with ideas for things that could be good solutions. And then once you've done that, test it with the experts you've already identified and say, is this a good solution? And they'll say, well, no, because nobody will use it because of this reason. That's the experts that put in with it. And then your solution will have to change because it can't work in that way. And grounded innovation is not blue sky innovation. So blue sky innovation is basically the kind of innovation that when people leap out of the shower and they go, oh, I've had a great idea, it's this. Now, I've just told you about the idea that Vodafone had of people getting off a plane in a strange city. The reason why that was blue sky innovation is because it wasn't grounded in a real need. Nobody wanted it. And what they had to do was they had to create a problem that fitted their solution. Don't invent problems to solve. Well, there's more than enough problems out there to solve that you can make a success of, right? And finally, again, solve a problem that you really care about solving. That'll be the thing that gets you through those dark days when it's a real struggle. On a happy note. So I want to just talk about 4 principles. Number 1, focus on a real and grounded problem. Now, I've told you why. Because if you don't focus on a real and grounded problem, you end up just making up a solution. You fit the solution to a made-up problem. Don't do that. If you focus on a real and grounded problem, there are experts in that space as well, and they can help you. The other thing I want to say is don't just rush towards a solution. I say that you should spend a third of your time, as in the first third of your project, just exploring the problem. Now, this is a particularly strong with blokes, and this is probably not the right thing to say, but as a bloke, all I want to do is solve problems all the time. And my way of solving problems is to rush straight towards a solution. If my daughter says she's feeling low, I want to make her happy. So that's not the right thing to do, right? You want to sit down, you want to say, what's wrong? Why are you not feeling, you need to go through that work. So don't just rush towards a solution. Spend time focusing on the problem. These are a bit odd, but just bear with me, it does work. Right, the second principle is document the agreed challenge and the context of that challenge. So let me give you an example. All right, this is back to chat now. I want you all to picture a dice. And after 3, I want you to all type in what color that dice is. 1, 2, 3, type it in. Brilliant. Now, that's great, right? We just had a conversation about a dice. Everybody understands what a dice is, but you've all got different dices in mind, yeah? If I then said to you, now, picture a dice and what color is it? I mean, you could still say different colors because people are like that, right? But you can all see that's a white dice. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a white dice, right? If you document it, you could say write it down or create a way of putting it down on paper. It allows everyone to share the same understanding of the problem. Yeah, that's why it's important. If you look at Google do everything written down. Why do they do it? Because it stops this ambiguity. It stops 2 people going away and working on the same problem and coming back a week later and not having a clue what the other one's done because they've been working on different problems. Okay. Here's a weird one for you. Have a clear owner, not just a sponsor. So what do I mean by that? I mean, find somebody that owns what you're trying to do, whether that's you or somebody else, but act like an owner, not a sponsor. Don't do it because you're interested in it or you think it's a good idea. Do it because you think this is something that you can land as a solution and make a difference with. Just being curious is not enough in this, because actually curiosity will get you something that'll just sit on a shelf and not go anywhere. And I spent a lot of my life doing that. What you want to do is come up with something that's going to make a real difference. And the last principle is build a team of experts. So you think experts, they're expensive and they're really rare, right? An expert, I think, is just a person that you would turn to find out more. So if it was about a financial thing you were doing, who would be your expert? Who would you involve in this that you would trust, that you would listen to, and that could help support you through this? So start off, identify your challenge and solution experts. So I'm now talking about challenge and solution experts. Your challenge experts, you want to work in, for example, the finance space or the advice space, perhaps sporting space. Who are the people that would really understand the problems in that space that you're trying to solve? And then who are the solution experts? So if you're trying to build a service, you need people around you that understand how to build a service. So what can you do? What can't you do? So what you're doing is you're putting your constraints right up front. And work in an agile way, which just means work in 2-week sprints. And what I mean by a 2-week sprint, and this is probably contrary to some of the other stuff people have been saying, for me, agile is think I'm going to work for 2 weeks on this. What do I want to achieve by the end of it? What is my goal? State that at the start on the Monday, the first Monday. What am I going to achieve these 2 weeks? Work through your first week, work through your second week, and get to the end of it. See how you've done, see what you've learned, what you've captured from those 2 weeks. And then redefine your goals for your next sprint. So we used to do this Friday, talk about the goals. It was great. Have a weekend off, go and just reflect on that. The next Monday, the first thing you do is you sit down, you talk about the goals of last week and what are the goals we're going to do for the next sprint, the next 2 weeks. The beauty of working in that way is that it stops you being wedded to something that you've put a lot of investment in. And I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about the work that you put in, the kind of emotional investment. I can sit down now and I can write you an innovation plan for the next 18 months. If I do that, I know that on day one it will change. So what's the point? The point is you might want to do a really high level thing that says, I'm going to be working on this, this, and this over the next 18 months, but I'm only going to do a detailed plan for the next month or so. And I'm only really going to put details into the next sprint, because at the end of that sprint, everything's going to change. So there are my 4 principles, right? Focus on a real and grounded problem. Document it so that when you share it with people, they're reading it off a page or looking at it from a deck. You're not just talking to them about it. Have a clear owner. Be clear that what you're doing is not just curiosity. It's something you really, really want to land and make a difference with. And surround yourself by experts. If you do that, you're not going to go far wrong. Okay, how's this going? Is this okay? Give me some thumbs ups, thumbs downs. Yay, lovely, good. Thank you. Some thumbs and some fires. I hope that's it. And some brains. Marvelous. It's like a horror film. It's lovely. Okay, I'm now going to talk about the 5 stages of grounded innovation. So number 1, and this is restating a lot of what I said, but I just think it's another way of telling it. Identify your domains and your experts, or your domain and your experts. Pick a domain. What domain do you want to innovate in? What is it that's close to you? What means a lot to you? Is it climate change? Is it cost of living crisis? Is it people struggling to understand how the finances work? I mean, do you know what I mean? It can be anything like that, but that's the domain. What you're not saying is, what I want to do is to build an app that does this. If you say that, you're immediately assuming that that's what people want, right? And it might be what you want, and that's fine. If it's what you want, go and make sure that other people want it too. And then the experts, again, just go and find out who the experts are that you trust in that domain. And again, these don't have to be people that you see on telly. These are just the people that you would trust and you would involve in doing this. Basically, people that know more than you, but also that you would trust to give you a good answer. The next one is define the challenge. Your best friend in this space is the question why. So, I want to build a banking app. Why? I want to build a banking app because I struggle with saving. Why? Well, I struggle with saving because I'm spent out before the end of the month. Why? Well, because I don't budget properly. Why? Because all my payments come at the end of the month and I'm not, see what I'm saying? So I'm getting away from the solution, which was at the start, and I'm getting down into the real problem. The real problem is that I don't budget for what's coming up into the future. So now I understand more what the problem is and what I have to build to be able to solve the problem. And you just keep asking why. until, I mean, the 5 whys is the way it's typically talked about. But sometimes if people come in and they say, I want you to innovate around blockchain or some other AI. This is a great one. I want you to innovate around AI. Why? You're going to have a lot more whys than just 5 to actually get to the root cause here. So whys just keep going until you're no longer being sold a solution, but you've got a real problem you want solving. So work with the experts to define the problem you want to solve. And again, you just write the challenge down. Writing it down is really important. Don't think that just because the 2 of you have been on the same journey, you've got the same out of it. You just don't. And then convene your experts, right? Bring them together. Build an agile team and get them to work together. Now, experts are not always at hand, right? They're not part of your core team. But if you work in sprints, get them in at the start for an hour to define the goals. Get them in at the end to talk about what you've achieved. And just keep doing that. It's really not that it's not that hard for them to commit to doing that. It's not expensive in terms of their time. If they believe in it and they want to be part of it, it's really good. And the other thing is, think about, sorry, I'll just go on one. At the end here, it says, what have you learned at the end? This is all about learning. So convene the experts and you start to explore the domain. You're learning about the domain all the time. When you start to explore the challenge, remember I said give a third of your time to just exploring the challenge. This is all about learning. This is about understanding what the shape of the problem is that you're trying to solve. And again, this will help give you the shape of the solution. You'll find that as your learning grows, as you become to understand more, not just of what the technology constraints you with, but what the users want and what they don't want, what the users, how important it is to people. And also at this stage, you don't have to test with lots and lots of individuals, right? You've got experts in the room. And we laugh about this, Mohammed and I, but I think of experts as super users. So they're like 1,000 people. So for every 1,000 people you test with as a product, just test it with one expert. So what about this? Does this work for you? And they'll just tell you straight away, yeah, it's close, but what you really need to have is this or that. So test it against the experts, see what they say, and that's going to have a massive impact on how your app evolves. We call it pivoting, right? You go through this process, you think you're building one thing and you have to pivot it because that's actually not either going to be successful with people or it's not going to allow them to do what they want to do. I've got a question. How do you create traction in starting a business if you have a small target demographic? Really good question. So when you say a small target demographic, do you mean a small target that you're building for or a small target that you are selling to? Because they're different things.
Feel free to unmute if you'd like.
It's a good question.
A small target that I would be selling to.
Okay. So in a sense, that's great that you're selling to a small target demographic. Creating traction is easy. If it's a small demographic and you're marketing to a small demographic, then you can be very targeted about the marketing. Yeah. So, and if it is genuinely small, then you can use, there's some really simple tools like go into the demographic and ask either who are the people that are respected in that demographic or who are the key influencers in that demographic and just focus on them. I don't know if you know this, Nike, when they were creating a new trainer, they went into a community, into a school, and they asked a kid, who do you look up to in the school in terms of what they wear? And they pointed out this bloke, and they went up to that bloke and they said, who do you look up to for what they wear? And he said, oh, well, actually, I look up to him. And when they went to him, they said, well, who do you look up to? And he said, well, no one really. And they just gave him a pair of the trainers. And by giving him a pair of the trainers, everybody was wearing the trainers. But there is a different thing here as well. I talked about whether you target, is this for marketing or for kind of functionality building and who you're designing for. Try and design and build for as wide a market as possible. So if you have a target demographic to sell to, that's fine, but don't design for them. Try to think more widely. See if there's other use cases, because if you get traction in that small demographic, then you can start to use that as a springboard for growing out without having to start redesigning or redeveloping a new product. I hope that was interesting or useful. Let me do the 5th stage, but great question. Thank you so much. The last one is build the solution. Now, building a solution is not just building the app or whatever, or the service that you put in your pocket. There's no point building a great app if there is no business that's sustainable around it, right? So when you get to this stage, you've got a prototype, you know it works. You have to start thinking beyond just building a solution that's sustainable and supportable and available. You have to start thinking, what is the business I'm going to wrap around this to actually have an impact and make a difference? So there are the 5 stages. Okay. Now, I'm aware of the time. What I really want to do now is to give you a go at this. So if that's good to you, so this is your turn on grounded innovation. So I'm going to give you time. It's up to you. If you're feeling brave, you can put this into chat. I don't know, Mohammed's nodding, but he's always brave, so he doesn't care. But,
yeah, definitely. We got the brave bunch now. I remember there was a huge hype in the beginning, and then you realize, wow, this is actually quite difficult. And then now it's down to you. It's boiled down to brave, young innovators, and I'm sure you're up for the challenge.
Great. So use this, right? The reason why you want to put it in the chat is because it gives me a chance to be able to see what you're saying, and I can comment on that. So what I want you to do now, just for 5 minutes or so, I want you to choose a domain that you care about and that you want to innovate in. It sounds like you've already started this thinking. And I want you to write into the chat 2 things. I want you to write in, what is the domain? And then the second thing is, I want you to just tell me who the experts are that you want to bring into that domain. Now, is that okay? Thumbs up, fire, flame, brains, whatever.
That sounds awesome. In fact, if you don't mind, Phil, I'm also going to jump in with everyone else and use this opportunity.
Yeah. Just like the old times.
That's it, like the old times, man.
Oh, brilliant. Good stuff.
And I'm really glad this is coming at this time, because a lot of you've realized through the course of the previous workshops that you're going to have to pivot when you get data back. And this is brilliant, exactly what Bill and Simon mentioned about observing. Stop rushing to plaster this problem, or you're thinking about the plaster. No, think about the wound, right? Go back to what good old Einstein said, people in need.
Briefly, people in need.
Okay. Oh, fine. I want you to think a bit more deeply.
Wow, Robert Walker. That's very specific. I don't know Robert Walker. I'll Google Robert Walker later.
Okay, so Arfan mentioned the domain is graphic design, and then experts are graphic designers.
Okay, that's interesting. Brilliant.
What I mentioned, domain is people in need. Experts are non-profit owners.
Interesting. Well, this will. I'll wait for people. I'm not rushing you at all.
Yeah, good things come with to those who wait, right? So we're happy.
Well, it'll be interesting. So the next question, freelancing. Cool. Shall I? Is this? I don't know if it's everyone or not, but oh no, here we go. Culture.
Yeah, got a few
Really
people
good.
typing this stuff. Oh, brilliant! So agriculture, and then the experts are farmers. Brilliant, really good example. Agriculture experts, even marketers, those who are in agriculture marketing, agro-tech marketers,
Nice.
government policy makers. Brilliant
Okay.
stuff. Yeah, feel free. We've got a few more people coming in. Feel free to.
Our phone's just typing.
No worries. It's all good. Take your time. We can go to the next one if we're ready.
Okay, let me go to the next one, right? And
give us a thumbs up if you're ready for the next one, or if you want some more time.
Yeah, that's a better shout.
If you want some more time, give me a.
Well, look, you can carry on doing this. It might
Perfect.
make more sense. But
Perfect. I think we're ready for the next one. Yeah.
okay.
Brilliant.
So, here we go. There was another social media advertising design is kind of lovely. So now I want you to define the challenge. So think of a challenge in that domain that you want to solve. And I want you to write that challenge down. Now, obviously, if you were doing this, so this great example of deforestation, and then Robert Walker's the expert, you would sit down with Robert Walker and you would work out between you what is the challenge that you're trying to solve. But we don't have that luxury now. But you have an idea in your mind, right? The fact that Mohammed said agriculture or our fan said graphic design, you have a challenge in mind, I'm guessing, in this space that needs solving. So what I want you to do is I want you to really think about what that challenge is. And then I want you to write it down and put that in the chat. Brilliant. This is great. Okay. Ishak, I want you to give me a real grounded example of something that people need to do that they can't as they don't have the skills to do. Baran Ali, so absolutely increasing preventable illnesses, yet a lack of measures taken. I think the challenge that you would choose would be a particular one. So I would probably try and write it again. Think about a preventable illness, and what would be the measures. Why is there a lack of measures taken? So try and ground it a bit more. Here we go. Mo. People find it really hard to find a good match partner these days. Yeah, that's a really good challenge. You could probably expand that a little bit. There's some context there which would be quite interesting to put in, which is around why you think it's hard these days, why it's these days, and why hasn't it always been that? Okay, marketing, good answer. So really, Ishak, what you're saying is you want to people struggle to market effectively, in which case that's an interesting one, right? Because in a sense, by starting to define this a bit more. So who are you doing this for? Is this for startups? Is this for individuals? Is this for larger organizations have marketing teams, right? So are you saying this is for startups or sole people? I guess you probably are. So okay, that's that. You could probably put that into your challenge document, that it's marketing for so it's starting to shape the challenge, really. The challenge is that small startups struggle to do effective marketing, something like that. Let's see, Isaac, gathering enough people to actually plant the seeds and give them enough water and care. So there's lots of whys there, right? Do you need a lot of people to do this? What is the real problem? So why? Why is this the challenge? Gathering enough people to actually plant the seeds and give them enough water and care. So really the challenge is finding a way of, the problem is, I'm just thinking off the top of my head and trying to spin it around a bit. So the problem is that it's not possible to plant what's needed and give it the care it needs. That's the challenge, isn't it? Planting the seeds and giving and looking after the seeds is the challenge. Gathering enough people is part of the solution. So one solution is gathering enough people, right? The other solution is that you have you could build a machine that plants seeds and looks after the seeds, or that could be too many. See what I'm saying? So just trying to spin it out a bit so that we're pulling the solution out from it. Okay. Use less money to build weapons of mass destruction and instead provide for the nation, also making a country's relations with other better. So what is the challenge? So the challenge is really trying to impact or affect society so that money is spent in different ways. So the money is taken away from MOD spend to social spend. Anyway, good. This is good. Shelters and non-profits not having enough donations or traction. So the challenge is that in the current society, the amount of profit has fallen, the amount of charitable giving has fallen. How do we increase the amount of money that shelters and non-profits receive? In fact, you could take that further. You could argue whether the money is being spent effectively. So it might not be about increasing the amount of money that's coming in. It might be looking at actually how do you make shelters and non-profits more efficient. Oh, here we go. Any business that is in need of good, effective marketing, whether that is a startup. Brilliant. So your challenge is to provide good and effective marketing to all businesses, whether startup and or an experienced or an established business. That's a really good challenge. Mohammed, introduce community gardening, farming in every community so that everyone in the city can get healthy vegetables and fruits at reasonable prices. So have a think about that in terms of solution and challenge. Introducing community gardening is a solution, right? But actually the challenge is people are struggling to get healthy vegetables and fruit at reasonable prices. That's the real challenge here. And you might want to say in a way that minimizes climate change impact. So at the moment, the solution is that you ship things in from South Africa or all over the world, right? And therefore, what you're doing is one of the solutions would be to make it more local, and then that leads into the solution. Let's go on to the next one. Bernelli. My problem is grounded in the low incentive for the education of preventative measures to be made widespread and implemented. Somebody keeps doing a thumbs down. Is there a problem, or
It might be just an emoji
okay?
gone wrong. But yeah, but by the way, guys, I just take the opportunity to say I'm making notes on your behalf, just responding to your comments, just making it more problem centric, your language. So yeah, please keep them coming, and thank you so much, Phil.
It's all right. I think this is good though to work it through, because it kind of tells the problem. It tells the difference between a challenge and a solution, and it's a good idea to really focus on the problem you're trying to solve. So my problem is grounded in the low incentive for the education of preventative measures to be made widespread and implemented. People prefer instant gratification. Big Pharma provides a lot of profit for investors, etc. So the problem is low incentive for the education of preventative measures to be made widespread. Okay, that's a good challenge. So the challenge is there's a low incentive for the education of preventative measures to be made widespread and implemented, which is great, right? So you can start to see how, as you scope that with experts, how the solution would start to appear as to about what form does that education take? Who do you educate to? What is the right point of education? So do you educate in pharmacies? Do you educate in schools? That would all become part of this process. And as software and nutrition, healthy eating. A challenge I thought of is single mothers not having enough time and money to either follow certain healthy recipes to a T or have the time to even think about ingredients. What's healthy and what isn't, what to cook and how to cook it is in the healthiest way. That's a really good challenge. This is part of what Mohammed and I were doing on our when we were working together at Nationwide. Single mothers are poor, but they're also time poor. This is a wild generalization, but it is the problem. If you look at people living close to the breadline, it's not just about. There are many factors that lead into this, but I think that the challenge is a really good one. It's about saying the challenge being people that are financially struggling are not only financially poor, they're also time poor and often resource poor. And that's a fantastic challenge to solve. The challenge is how do you help people eat healthily when they are time poor, financially poor, and resource poor? That's a really good one. And back to incentive, it's easier to influence people rather than big corporations or governments. It is, although it's quite hard to influence people unless they want to be influenced. So it's really about understanding this is why grounding it in real issues is so important. Find the thing that people really care about and that actually they want solving as their problem. You're right, big corporations and governments have their own agenda, but if you can tag into what people want, it's much easier to become effective. And your domain experts, Ishak, people who provide marketing for businesses. People need effective marketing that they can't do as they don't have the skills to do it for their business. For people who need good, effective. Yes, really good. That's a really good challenge. So the challenge is people need effective that they can't do. Yeah, that's really good. A long time ago, way before these things were around, I was thinking about setting up working spaces that were basically bringing together marketers, software developers, designers that run as their own businesses, but co-locate them all so that they can just lean into each other. And I think that, this marketing as a service would be a really good thing to do. So this is really good. I hope it was useful, but let me carry on. Now, obviously you don't have experts at hand, but if you did have these experts at hand and you've created this agile team of challenge and solution experts, what you would do is you would start off by creating sprints. And what I want you to do is to create your first 2 sprints. And what I mean by that is, what is the first question or the first 2 questions that you would need to answer? And have a think about that. And when you type it in, just put in your domain to remind me what your domain was. And again, I think this is useful. We can't do the last 2 bits, the explore the challenge part or the scale the solution. We might think about what they mean, but just have a think about what your first 2 sprints would look like. So you've got 2 weeks to answer your first and your second question. What are the important first and second questions? And let me tell you a little bit more about this. Why do I ask you to do this? So if you're going to spend a lot of money and time trying to see whether this is worth pursuing or not, would you put the riskier questions up front, or would you leave them to the end? That's the thing you've got to think about. So if you're going to fail, is it better to fail at the start of this journey or at the end of the journey? And while you're thinking, let me tell you, a lot of this thinking comes from software development. And in the old days of software development, you used to say, okay, here's a piece of paper and it tells me that they want this. And I go away and I build this. And then when I come back, I give it to them and they say, that's not what we wanted. That's not what we asked for. Now, with Agile, if you have an Agile approach, what you do is you pull up to the front the riskier stuff, right? So you would, if you're looking at employing a technology, one of the first things you would do, if it was a bit of a dodgy technology, as in a new technology, one of the first things you would do is to test that. So that would be one of the first sprints, right? Does this even work? Does this even do what you want? But in the world that you're in, you've got very different questions that you need to answer first. So have a think about what are the 2 important questions, the riskiest questions that you would want to solve first to see whether your challenge and the direction you want to go in makes sense or not. Please put other questions into the chat if that didn't make sense.
Embrace the silence within the silence, within the stillness. There's an answer.
I think Mohammed finds it difficult to embrace the silence, but there you go.
I'll go ahead with my relationship example as well. Oh, I love the question emojis. Love the Plato emoji.
Right. So they're 2 really good questions, right? From Mohammed, from the Mr. 1%School. Yeah. So that's a fundamental question. Are they willing to involve a third party? And there's an interesting bit of that, right? Which is does it feel like a third party, or does it feel like something that is anonymous or non-human, in the sense that is it somebody that you have a relationship with to help you on that journey, or is it something that is feels like a computer or a robot? Because some people would want one, some people want the other. You need to explore that. Are people actually wanting to get married these days? So I think there's a question there around segments as well, which is trying to understand which people want to get married, what segment of people are looking for this. So one thing you might think is that, well, this will be targeted for 18 to 25-year-olds. What you might actually find by doing the research is that this is for 60-year-olds who, or 50-year-olds whose relationships are broken down, and actually they have no idea how to go about finding a new partner to go forward with. There's some other things you need to think about in that, which is, and remember at the end, it's about building a sustainable business, not building a solution to a problem. So you also want to have one of the early questions you want to ask is around how much would people spend on this, so that you know whether it's, if people will only have it for free, they won't spend anything on it, doesn't mean it's not a sustainable business, because you can go out and you can use advertising, etc., as a way of supporting your business. You may have the data that you can collate the data from people, and then you can sell the data. There are different models out there. So
Smashed it. I've got my 3 sprints sorted.
yeah. But like the second one, the segmentation is really interesting, right? Because if you could easily come up with a solution, and you've already planned it out, and you've got a dev team, you know what it's going to look like and stuff. And then at some point, if later when you think, I wonder who this is going to resonate with, and you suddenly find out it's 50-year-olds, then your whole design and everything changes, which means everything you've done up to that point, you could effectively throw away. So that's why it's really worth thinking about putting the consequential questions or the riskier questions up front. Ishak, brilliant. Yeah. So the competitor analysis is really good. See who's out there, see what they're doing. I mean, I think that applies to Mo's one as well. So part of one might be, what are the spaces between the competitors? So is there a space there that the competitors are not meeting or not reaching? And then what is the perfect solution for optimal amounts of reach and sales in marketing? What is the perfect solution for optimal amounts of reach and sales in marketing? Okay, that's tricky, right? Because I guess the answer to that is dependent on everything, every product or every object that you're marketing. The answer will be different for that. But again, I don't know. So the question would probably be, is there a perfect solution for optimal amounts of reach and sales in marketing? Might be a better earlier question rather than assuming there is. Yeah. Oh, I like you can edit as you go along. This is good. Burn Alley, domain healthy, particular sleep. Do people have to change their lifestyle? Do people have the ability to change their lifestyle in order to benefit from better focus and health? How would you encourage users to continuously use the solution proposed instead of going back to their old way? So they're really good. People do have the ability to change, but people are resistant to change. So it's about, they call it the value exchange, right? So I have to get something to make me change. So perhaps the question is if you assume that they're able to change, I mean, I think you might be right about that. That might be the fundamental question. Are they able to change? They're particularly around sleep. Are they able to change their sleep patterns? There's probably another one in there, which is what do they what benefits do they need to receive to allow them to do that, or to drive them to do that? And the second part, how would you encourage users to continuously use the solution proposed instead of going back to their old ways? And I think that ties in with this value exchange idea. So there's that aspect, which is that you need to make them aware of what the benefits are. So I think that's a really good question. So the question again, you'd probably be, what ways are there to encourage users to continuously use the solution? And then you start getting into things like a way of being able to see how they've improved, or to see how their lifestyle has changed as a result of using the app, and to use that as a way of creating positive feedback in what they're doing. Good stuff, really good stuff.
Brilliant stuff. I can see a few people still typing, several users, Muhammad. So brilliant stuff. Keep iterating. I mean, a lot of you, it's very interesting. We got you to give an idea, and on the first 2 sessions, and then now they've pivoted already, and within this session they've pivoted as well, which is brilliant.
Let me just, please keep on typing. Let me just rattle through to the end. So so this is it, right? With these solutions you've got in mind, test it with experts, sit down and talk to them. And it's easy to test with experts. You just say, what about this as an idea? Again, write it down, document it, create it, draw it on a piece of paper. That's really good. But if they're happy with it, then go ahead and build it. But again, I've just emphasized this. I'm really aware of the time, so make sure that you've got a business around it. Okay, here we go. Isha, another question. Some people don't even know that marketing is the reason they are not successful, and they blame it on other factors. How do I make them realize that? Oh, that's a good question. The way that I would do it is through taking in, you'd have to have some information, right, to back it up. And that information is basically the amount of reach they have, what their target audience appears to be. And then you ask them the question that this is how you're currently doing it, how effective is it? And but you already know the answer, right? It's not that effective. And then what you would do is you would say, well, if you targeted these people, then you'd have it would be far more effective. So you need to go in with the information at hand. So you do understand, you know what they know, but you need them to realize it. So ask them the question, how is it going for you? You seem to be struggling this way. How do you feel it's going? Do you think there's a better way? Get them to ask you what you think, because they won't listen to you. If you just tell them, they won't listen to you. That is me done. That's the ending questions. Any other questions, please do it. I'm not that pushed for time, but I imagine you guys are, or Mohammed is. So
No, we're all good. Thank you so very much, Phil.
Pleasure. Really enjoyable.
Yeah, really good. I think that was super helpful. Just that hands-on right at the end in particular. Give us a thumbs up if that was really helpful to kind of get that expert eye, that critical lens. Wow, loads of thumbs up. Wow, look at that.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. Any questions, please do feel free to put them into the chat. Look, it feels like we're throwing you into the deep end here, right? Because on Monday we got Roger that's going to be helping you curate your 3-minute pitch, but it's all just putting you through this one time, and then this is a skill that's going to be with you hopefully forever, right? And this is what we're all passionate about for you at the stage where you are, to make sure that you go through this. It's not theory, it's actual kind of practice. So thank you so much, Phil, for that. Any questions? If not, we'll allow Phil to enjoy the rest of his Friday. But yeah, any questions?
Real world.
Go back to the real world. Exactly. No questions? All right. Cool. Any more for any
Brilliant.
more? No? Gone. And thank you so very much. A huge round of applause. emoji responses as well. I'm going to